right, here we are today back. Today's topic is all within the context of, call it, uh, it's germane to small business. It's germane to every business, production or manufacturing company. But I'll speak to this one, brace manufacturing, brace steel. Around 9 years in various forms. And when we first got going, we didn't really know what we were doing. So we bought machines. Green button meant go, red button meant stop. We had a product line in the firearms business. So we've tried to figure out, like, how do we make what we're buying? Basically, we were buying product for AR-15s, et cetera. And we're like, all right, if we can make that. So we backward integrated and hired a bunch of consultants over time to get the fixtures, the tooling, so we can just operate and make the same product over and over, create I would say, from an inspection standpoint, a go, no go, worked out fine, right? In the critical parts of the firearm, we definitely had it down, which was, obviously important, right? The gun doesn't fire, the gun misfires, the gun fires, right? So 2 out of 3 is, you want to go 3 for 3. So today, and I'll get into this a little further. Today, I brought in the head of our quality department. Jacob Essy came to us a little over 6 months ago. And we sought Jacob out because of his background working with another company that locally that subscribes to AS9100. And we, as a, call it, burgeoning machine shop and fabricator, wanted to go down that path. So Jacob has been, prior to hiring on this, he'd help us a little bit, just giving us advice on how we can incrementally improve what we were doing. And then we made the big commitment to do AS9100. But before we made the commitment, the financial commitment is one aspect. The other commitment, in my opinion, the bigger commitment, the harder commitment, was the people. And we identified Jacob as the guy to come in and lead that before we even did it, before we even talked to Jacob. We were like, we got to get Jacob. So we were successful in doing so, and very happy to have Jacob for lots of different reasons. And what goes hand in glove with quality is culture. So what was really critical for us was to find a person that has the chops, like Jacob, but also someone that will bring something to our culture and help continue to enhance our culture as a company. And we found that in Jacob. And 6 months into it, a little bit more than 6 months, we're very excited about Jacob as a person, Jacob as a teammate, Jacob as a leader. And so with that, hold your applause. I'm going to introduce Jacob Essy. Jacob, welcome.
Oh, thanks, man. Thanks for bringing me into this. It's really exciting to be a part of brace manufacturing, and it's, y'all have been so welcoming, and I'm excited to be here.
Good. So tell us, like, again, for the audience's sake, we did not have any QMS, in other words, quality management system. We had quality, but nothing full scale, documented, certified, etc.
Yeah.
So what the hell were you thinking?
Well, every company goes through this at some point, right? Any company that's serious enough.
Yeah.
And you have to start somewhere.
Right.
So, when you guys called me up over a year ago,
right,
and you had just purchased your coordinate measuring machine out there, CMF,
right,
and you were looking for someone to teach your team how to measure parts with it. And so you called me up and said, hey, we need someone to do some training out here.
Right.
And at that point, I was looking around, I was like, this is a really, clean shop, down to earth people. I'd known a couple of people that were already here.
Right.
From my previous work experiences. And they had everyone that I knew had nothing but good things to say about the company and about you, Matt, and your family as well.
Thank you.
So fast forward 6 months from that point, you guys called me up and was like, hey, we're looking to expand and get our AS9100 certification because we want to take this thing as far as it can go.
Right.
And you slapped a manual in front of me. And that, at that point, I saw that you guys really committed.
The one with all the pictures?
The one, no, not that.
I'm kidding.
I've seen that one.
I'm kidding.
I've seen that one. I'm kidding. But you guys had gone out, you had hired a consulting firm to see where you were at, where you needed to be. And that showed me that you guys were really committed to quality and building something that can last and grow.
So just before you get further into that, because a couple things, I'll digress a second to the audience. We bought this machine, a CMM, and we buy it. It's not cheap. And none of us know how to work it. And especially me, right? So it's like Nintendo on steroids, right? So anyway, we get Jacob to come over and explain this to us. And again, not cheap. And this goes back to something I said in either the last episode, if you will, that my wife was like, you should have got the hair piece, the red Corvette, and the girlfriend, because this would have been a lot cheaper. These things are not cheap. This business is not cheap. Getting into the QMS side that we're about to go into is not cheap, not just from the certification, but the maintenance and the cultural shift. So that is a big deal. But before we get into that, give us a little bit of background about you, like your education, where you grew up.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm a local boy. Grew up in town just north of here, McKinney, Texas.
Right.
And when I graduated there, I went over to UNT to study mechanical engineering.
Mean Green.
Go Mean Green. They're not doing much in the way of sports right now.
That's all right.
It's fine.
That's all right.
It's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I went to school in Denton. It was close to home. It was cheaper than going to Texas.
Right.
And I thought I was going to go out and design fancy tack for cars or houses or something. Right. Like I thought I was going to go full engineering, full design. Maybe screw around a little bit too much in one of my math classes. It's fine.
Yeah. You still got the degree.
Still got the degree.
Mechanical engineering. That's not easy.
No, it's a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of hard work.
Yep.
And, but anyway, fast forward, I get my degree, I get out of college, work market sucks. So this is 2016. So, I mean, everything's kind of burning.
Right.
And so I end up 6 months later taking a shipping job because I'm fresh out of college. I'm broke.
Yep.
And 2 days later, the VP of that company saw that I had a engineering degree, came to me and said, what the hell are you doing? And he brought me into the quality office and handed me a part and said, I need you to reverse engineer this into a solid model so that we can throw it on one of our machines and make it. So that's the first time I touched a pair of calipers.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
They don't teach that stuff in college.
Interesting.
At least not for mechanical engineering. If you go into a tech route, they'll teach you, how to use a basic lathe, how to use an old Bridgeport mill.
Right.
That's not where I thought I was going.
Wow. Okay.
So I went from touching handling my first pair of calipers and measuring a part. So 2 months later, when that quality person walked out the door, they looked at me and said,
You're up.
You're up. And so that was kind of my journey into quality.
That's great.
Yeah. And it was a long journey. There were some mistakes early on.
Yeah.
But it's one of those industries and it's one of those professions that you learn more by doing.
Right.
Rather than sitting in a classroom. And I firmly believe that.
Sure.
So, yeah. And that company, was heavy into aerospace and the semiconductor side of things. So I got to look at a lot of different parts, a lot of different companies.
Critical too.
A lot of critical tolerances. And we're talking, not your standard plus or minus 10, plus or minus 30 thousandths of an inch. You're talking about, we've got to get some of these parts flat within 5-10 thousandths of an inch.
Yeah.
And so I have to go out and figure out, okay, how do we measure that?
Well, so for those that aren't familiar with the level of spec, so to speak, when the width of a piece of paper, a normal 8x11 piece of paper is 4 thou.
Yeah, right around 4 thou.
And so you're having to QC product and flatness that's 5 thou?
5/10 thou.
5/10. Yeah.
So you're talking just over 10% of the
thickness of a piece of paper. So that's how critical.
Which is crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah. But I think what it does do is from the guy that goes from college with not a lot of practical hands-on experience to I'm in shipping because I'm going to do whatever it takes to make a living, to here, make sure this is that flat.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's crazy.
It was quite a jump.
Yeah.
And, with the industries that company was in, it gave me a lot of experience and a lot of feedback, because obviously aerospace companies are very strict with.
Yep, as they should be.
Yeah, which is where, the aerospace standard 9100 comes into play. Is
right.
We had to subscribe to that. We had to learn to that.
Yeah.
So anyway, fast forward a couple of years ago, the company decides to take it to the next level, just like Brace is doing.
Right.
And they went and got ISO 9001 certified.
Right.
Same stuff. You have to have a quality manual. You have to have processes. You have to do internal audits. You have to have a calibration cycle.
Mm-hmm.
They purchased some packet online, and I built that company's ISO standard from the ground up.
Right.
So I'm sitting there late hours, weekends, reading up on standards. How the hell am I supposed to keep track of all this?
All right. How old are you this time?
Oh, this would have been 23.
23 years old.
23, 24, somewhere in
That's
there.
Insane. I love it.
So at 24, I'm developing an ISO system for a manufacturing company that has been around decades.
Yeah.
They just had never taken that step. So, go through that, get our certification through our audits. We get recertified. In every audit, you learn something new.
Right.
Because every auditor's got its own history, background, industries that he's seen, things that he's seen issues with.
Right.
And the gentleman that was actually doing my first audit, this is crazy. He was a really high up executive at one point in Boeing.
Okay.
Before all the weirdness happened. He was at Boeing like 20 years ago. And the stories that he would tell about how he would manage, the quality systems for a massive, manufacturing production. It's literally making airplanes. So I believed a lot of what he said.
Sure. Yeah. I got a bit of experience.
Yep. So 6 years doing ISO for that company. And, pretty much all of it was self-taught, self-learned through trial and error. And all the auto vendors that came through my shop floor.
So let's go into, where Brace went back to the story that took place, as Jacob mentioned, a year ago. And then when we started going for AS 9100, and to be clear to the audience that's not aware of this. So ISO, I would say, is a fundamental.
ISO is very much non-industry standard, or non-industry specific, right? So any kind of company can have an ISO 9001 certification. Your HVAC guy that's doing your
it's process.
It's all about process and making sure that the equipment that you have is up to spec,
right?
And that you are running your business in a way that supports process,
right?
You jump up to that next level and you go into aerospace standard 9100, and you now add probably another 30% on top of that.
Right.
And all of that's the stuff that, your big companies like your L3s and your Boeings and, any of your major aerospace companies, that's what they've gotten together and basically said, this is what we require as a baseline to be considered for supply chain.
Yeah.
Right. And so when you go up to that AS 9100 standard, the companies look at you and like, okay, you guys are serious and we can trust that you have the processes that we're looking for, that we know that you can support us.
Right.
Right. And of course, with all supply chains, it's all very interconnected. So those guys are using the same processes to support their customers,
right.
and so on and so forth, all the way up the ladder.
So it's like when we meet with with our operators 3:00 every afternoon. So it's a transition between first shift and second shift. And I have said a few times, or more than a few times, what we sell at Brace is we sell process and we sell time. Mm-hmm. Yes, parts are made, parts are fabricated, parts are welded, et cetera, coated, painted, whatever, but it's process. And so hopefully those that are listening understand the gravity of Jacob and Jacob's role. So it's one thing to get, someone that has the background that Jacob has, meaning they've been in QMS. It's another thing to get into a company like Brace that did not have that. So here's the new guy. Now, some of the guys knew you from previous life, but here's a new guy. And by the way, here's an entirely different way we're going to operate. Ready, set, go. So Jacob, it is all yours. You go make that happen. And just by the way, before he goes on, I want him to explain that. We just grabbed Jacob about 10 minutes ago before this started, and he was working on the lasering parts. Okay. So he emboldens the beauty of small business. He jumps in with both feet. I think his brief background or description of his background demonstrates his willingness to do whatever it takes, meaning to help out the team. So speaking of team, the segue being, you walk in, you're new to the company, and here you go. We're going to get AS 9100. I don't care what it takes. Jacob, it is in your hands. Jacob, are you 30 yet?
Yeah.
He just turned 30.
I just turned 30.
He just turned 30. So I just turned this over to this guy, and I'm like, you got it. So go do it. And of course, we prepped to a degree, meaning we told the guy, some of the operators that are here were accustomed to working under an AS 9100 certification, but a lot weren't. And we're not even talking about fabrication at this point, just the machining. So Jacob had a very tall order. And again, he's 6 months into it. So describe that and how you felt about it and how it's gone.
Yeah. I mean, you jump into any new role at a new company and, you expect, okay, I'm going to have, 2 weeks of training, maybe 3 to 6 months to get my feet wet, figure out, what's my role? What am I doing? No, that was not the case here.
No.
And you guys warned me of that coming in. I mean, you slapped the quality manual and said, hey, our audit's in a month.
Make it happen.
Make it happen.
Make it rain.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and you're right. When I came in, I'd known a couple of the guys before, and so they knew how I operate.
Right.
But at the same time, I was coming in and I don't know everyone. I just honestly really met you and your management team and your family. And so I'm just like, okay, I'm not going to step on any toes, but let's at least follow the processes that have started to do.
Yeah.
Right. So we're looking at like our traveler systems, and we're looking at our first article reports. We're looking at, some of the basic paper trails of things going through the shop.
Right.
And really it was just making sure that the guys knew why we were filling out paperwork, why these things existed. Understanding, why these things happen. And, the number one thing I think in most shops is traceability and work instructions.
Right.
And that's any company, right?
Right.
You got to know what everything is, where it's coming from, where it's going, and what to do with it.
Right.
And that's just basic process for any business. So, we jump in, we do some of that, we get into calibration, we hit calibration hard because that's something that any shop, you have to be on top of your game on that.
Right. So talk about calibration for a second. So, so you mentioned the CMM that looks like a lightsaber to me, or something close to a lightsaber. That's just one of many instruments to measure the parts, right?
Yeah.
So you're talking, when you talk about certifying or maintaining that, or getting them certified, then maintaining it, what kind of tools are we talking about?
So in our line of work, we're talking about stuff like calipers,
right,
and micrometers, depth gauges, thread gauges, something to check to make sure that the threads that you're putting in a part are good.
Right.
Gauge blocks that, are precision ground to a certain dimension, right?
Right.
Like a 1-inch gauge block is precision ground so that it is flat, parallel, the surface finish is beautiful,
right,
and it's within 6 decimal places of an inch being accurate, right?
I think we call that the gnat's ass, right?
Yeah, it's something. It's my last shop manager loved the saying "finer than frog hair."
Finer than frog hair. I think our shop manager uses that a little bit too.
That's pretty damn fine.
Yeah, it is. But we have to maintain those. They have to get certified every year.
Yes, sometimes more often. Sometimes you can kind of wait 2 or 3 years even, but calibration is all about taking those tools, those instruments that we use to check our parts, and making sure that they are actually telling you the correct dimensions.
Right.
So there's a big standard NIST.
Right.
It's international, and it is the standard that everything gets referred back to. It's like, oh God, I just saw this on a YouTube video the other day. There is a specific way that you know what a kilogram is, right? How much does a kilogram weigh? Well, this modern day scientists have figured out the exact number of atoms of silicone that make up a kilogram. And so you can take that number and you can go anywhere in the world and say, that's what a kilogram is. And it does not matter because silicone is very stable, right? And in fact, I think I heard it from Neil deGrasse Tyson, and that's a pretty smart dude.
Yeah.
But for the inch and for the meter and for everything that we do here in a manufacturing sense, we have to make sure that our tools are measuring to a standard.
Right.
And so we have to do that every so often.
Yep.
So we make sure that our length standards are accurate: 1 inch, 2 inch, 10 inch.
Well, you're speaking to a cultural shift too, because I can tell you, and you knew a little bit before you came into this, that this wasn't the Wild West. I don't want to portray it as that, but I've commissioned Jacob to really be the lead on the cultural change. It's not, I think for people that aren't familiar with the manufacturing environment, they want to rely on the plant manager or the owner in this case. Like, he's going to set he or she are going to set the tone on the culture of the way we operate. And the difference is, as I understand it now, much better, through trial and error, it starts with the quality, and the quality side of the business is what I think dictates culture.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you were asked to come in here and enhance, but I'd say establish definitely a quality culture. It was on your shoulders. Still is. So don't think when this is over, it's over.
Oh,
you know what I mean? It's a lot. I've asked him a lot, folks, and I got to just impart a little bit or digress a second. I am super excited. He talks, I get excited because I think we have come a long way, and we're going to go a lot further with it. And just from the business standpoint, and this is where, the barrier to entry into machining can be heavy, in that, buying equipment, that to me is the easy part. But getting the right people to not only know how to machine, program, fixture, tool selection, run the part, but it doesn't mean anything if we don't have everything set up before, during, and after, right? Again,
Absolutely.
selling process, selling time, buying equipment, fun for about 5 minutes. And then it's like, okay, we gotta put the machine to work. But it creates a barrier of entry, like you had said with your previous company, in that they made the decision to go up the quality chain or the pyramid, as did we. And we see it because the opportunities are better, harder, a lot harder, and they're financially harder. But when you have someone like Jacob that is, I say, on lockdown like a cornerback, I am confident that what we do is done right. And sometimes it's not done, like, we don't make it as fast as we thought we would when we quoted it, but that's a process thing. That isn't necessarily that isn't a quality thing. I mean, as we said, I think 2 nights ago, we were like, hey, not 2 nights, today's Tuesday. So last night or Friday, we didn't win Friday. Slow it down, do it right. I don't care if you have to call a timeout and shut the machine off. We're not making parts that don't meet the specification. So that's it. And so he has that, Jacob has that authority to do any of that stuff. So it isn't like this guy is a game warden who patrols the operation and says, I caught you doing this, you're busted, right? It's also helping them in process development, I think, with Brian and what have you.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a big deal. So again, you've been asked to do a lot, I think.
Yeah, and it's been a lot of fun, honestly.
Well, good.
Coming in at ground zero and helping develop, like you said, Matt, the culture and the processes and making sure that what we are doing is not only up to customer standards, but the standards that we want to set for ourselves.
Absolutely.
Right. And at the end of the day, I think you agree with when I say this, we want our standards to be higher than the standards that our customers set.
No doubt about it.
Because if we do that, then getting new customers is easy.
Yeah.
Keeping current customers is
really
easy.
Yeah.
And
it's fun. It's really funny you bring that up, because when a lot of our customers before our certification and that are still our customers, they don't require AS9100. They don't require ISO.
Yeah.
So they're getting the benefit, in my opinion, of, they could say, well, are you charging me extra for AS9100 certification or AS90 ISO 9001? No, that's just the way we run our shop. So if anything they get out of it is the comfort of knowing that, man, they watch everything. So that we were making good parts for them before, and now they're the beneficiaries of how we operate, in my opinion. I'm not asking them to pay more. I'm just saying they're the beneficiaries of it.
Oh, 100%. And they know that, one of the big things with, moving from, maybe gun manufacturing land to aerospace land is, you have to have full traceability on where your materials come from.
Right.
And not only just where they come from, but how they're made of.
That's right.
And the quality of the materials.
Yeah.
And so now, your old customers that didn't require it, well, they know that your materials are coming from the right places and they're sourced well and they're controlled, and that helps you move forward to, your new customers. And because all of the aerospace customers are going to require that.
Yeah. And the old saying goes that you can't make chicken salad out of chicken crap.
No.
Right. So that is, that's an adage from my Illinois roots. All right. So what do you see like challenges with small business?
In small business, number one challenge, everyone wears a lot of hats.
Right.
Everyone wears a lot of hats, and you don't have that dedicated guy that can just sit behind a computer screen 8 hours a day and program. Right. You don't have that guy that can go out and just scan barcodes all day, making sure that your inventory is up to speed.
Right.
So you've got guys out there. We've got guys out there that are running 2, sometimes 3 machines at one time. Right. And each one of those parts is critical.
Yep.
Tight tolerances. You really got to be on top of your game.
Yep.
So, like you said, I'm out there lasering parts because those are due tomorrow and I don't have a guy, but
Yeah.
it's got to get done.
Yeah. And so I think it's, resources are always a challenge. All the more reason why, from my standpoint, you have to hire the right people, not just people that have a skill set, but a willingness to employ that skill set, meaning I think not just the engineering side or the QC side, but I'll go back to what you said originally. You started with a shipping job. I don't know if the shipping job was better or worse than my first job, which I talked about in the last episode, which was loading a furnace by hand. That sucked. That was only $4 an hour. So let's get to the personal side. All right. Because again, I'm pretty excited about Jacob, and personally, you're engaged.
I am.
Right.
I am.
So what's the story?
I met this beautiful woman. We're actually coming up on 2 years.
All right.
In May, and I'd met her a couple of times. She was a regular at one of the spots that I hung out at, and finally I was able to get her number, and I invited her out the next day to hang out. And she showed up a little late. She was getting off of work, and we went out that night, had a couple of drinks, and
the rest is history.
The rest is history.
So when are you going to get married?
Well, we got engaged back in October.
Okay.
We were up in Broken Bow.
Okay.
Doing a little bit of just a little R&R.
Hanging out?
Yeah. We were up at the state park. We were hanging out in one of those rental cabins out there. Gorgeous for us.
That's cool, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, love it up there.
You never think that was Oklahoma.
Right?
Yeah, that's
right.
Bad. Yeah, sweet.
But we're looking at probably October of 26.
Awesome.
So it's, we're starting to look at the wedding venues and all of that.
Yeah.
Starting to make our lists and our plans. It's incredibly exciting.
Good.
Yeah.
You're one of the only guys I've ever heard that's excited about planning. I mean, I'll just say going through it right now with the executive producer of this podcast, Liam Grace, 22 and engaged, and he is in the throes of, yeah, I'm looking at him right now, of planning his wedding. So, but that's exciting, man. I mean, I'm really excited about that for you. And I wanted to touch on one other thing before we wrap it up. And that is, people need to understand that in my heart, I am a drummer. That's right. So in 2000 and I want to say 13. So 2 years before I left Commercial Metals, there was something in me, probably from a long time ago, that I was like, man, I want to learn how to play a drum. That's like a monkey banging on a coffee can for me.
I get it.
So I took lessons, and I'm terrible, and started playing with a buddy of mine and one of my brothers, and I'm still terrible. And as I'm interviewing Jacob, Jacob's like, so I'm like, what do you like to do? And he's like, I play in a band. And I was like, well, what do you play? And he goes, I play the drums. Of course, he had me right there. He didn't have to keep telling me that he was an engineer.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what sealed the deal.
That sealed the deal, yeah. So tell us about the band and what the band supports.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that you just had a hankering for drums, because I moved in with a buddy of mine, and he had a drum set. I'd never touched a pair of drumsticks before.
Oh, yeah. These stories suck because I'm terrible. I took lessons. So you just picked it up?
So I had marched trombone in high school and college, so I didn't have a musical background.
Right.
But he played guitar and he had a drum set. I told him, you can't set the drum set up in the house. So he put it in the garage. And then he dragged my ass out there one day. He's like, here's a pair of drumsticks. Just play with me.
Oh, wow.
And that was right before COVID hit.
Okay.
So,
really?
Yeah.
So you haven't been doing it that long?
No, I really haven't. So we got stuck in the house for COVID.
Right.
What else am I going to do?
Right.
And we learned how to play.
Jam, man.
Yeah. We learned how to jam. And so we've been now a band. We had our first gig in December of 2020. And I had 2 gigs this last weekend.
Right.
What's
the name of the band?
It's Driveway Dive.
Driveway Dive. And tell me though about, like, you had mentioned that the band donates proceeds.
We actually have a really good working relationship with the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society here in North Texas.
Awesome.
So we got in with them about 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago. Now I think this will be year 5. And we play for their Light of the Night benefit.
Oh, cool.
And so year 1, which was 4.5 years ago, we played Dallas. And we basically said, we just want to play. We want to support, just pay us gas money and we'll get there and we'll play. Right.
Yeah.
The next year they expanded us to Frisco, the Collin County walk. And then the year after that, we expanded to Fort Worth. So now we've got 3 of them. And on top of that, we did their Visionaries ceremony, which was at the what's that really nice hotel in the Fort Worth Stockyards? The starts with a D.
Yeah. Oh, shoot.
That's gonna drive you nuts. The Driscoll.
Okay.
Yeah, the Driscoll. Beautiful ballroom. So we play for them there. And I actually had a Super Bowl winning linebacker for the Kansas City Chiefs at that event. Chris Jones, I think it was. Yeah. Shook his hand.
He's a big dude.
He's a real big dude.
Yeah.
But we've been doing that for almost 5 years now, and that one hits close to my heart because one of my college buddies, his eldest daughter, got diagnosed about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So, we'd been doing it before that happened, and then all of a sudden I find out that's a thing. It makes it that much more meaningful.
So, that's awesome.
So we're going to continue to do that. And I want to say, so this last year we added Austin to that. And this year they're talking about adding San Antonio to that. So we might be on the river.
And that's just that circuit. That's not even like your other weekend.
Yeah. And we've got residencies across town too. So we play up in McKinney. We play downtown Dallas. We're always in like Richardson and Plano area. So we play quite a bit.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, we get to talk about the fun stuff, the magic that comes from music, right?
Oh yeah.
Just playing it. It's, it kind of, I don't know. It's like in a much, I don't want to say lesser way, but a different way. You're trying to set the tone just like you are with the QMS system. You got to, the drums set the pace, and it's the same with the quality side. That's how I see it. All right. So perfect.
Yeah. No, it's the backbone. It's the backbone of the band, and the quality management system is the back.
So with that, I'll end it this way. So, I look at Jacob, and again, as the guy that started it up, and looking back 9 years ago to be in front of a guy of his caliber and character is super exciting and very fulfilling for me. And when I hear his story about I started in shipping after having a degree and then a hard fought engineering degree, and I'm in shipping, right? No different from me when I was like, I've got my poli-sci degree and I'm working in the furnace. What did I do wrong? Where did I go wrong? And then 35 years later, it's like, well, it's sort of worked out. But the commonality that I see with Jacob and anyone else that's been successful, is that they're determined, they're focused, they're willing to sacrifice, and never stop. It doesn't stop trying to better himself and better those around him. And that is awesome. And it's an overused word, but it really is. And from the bottom of my heart, Nikki and I are both very excited about you being a part of this and your future, whatever that is, whether that's here or somewhere else. This is a good guy, folks, and I'm stoked to have him.
Thanks, Matt. Thank you so much.
And don't forget, everyone, it ain't easy being on Easy Street. So just to give you some context, that is the tagline. It's not easy being on Easy Street. So the address of this location is 540 Easy Street. With that, thanks for listening. We're back at you soon. Take care.